Good morning and welcome to our training for Campus Crisis Response Plan. So we know one of the most important things that we do every year is review the Campus Crisis Plan. None of us ever want to have to use these procedures, but our job is to be prepared so that students feel safe and know exactly what to do. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the major emergency scenarios as we plan for communication systems that we'll use as well. The goal is for us to create confidence, not fear, so that you'll feel ready and prepared for whatever should come along and happen. One thing I really want to point out on this slide is that safety is everyone's responsibility. So when we have 600 students on campus, it cannot just be your administration that takes care of safety. It really takes every single adult on campus to follow the directions and every student to comply. So we have to have things in place and know what to do ahead of time and be prepared. So no matter what type of emergency occurs, our priorities will stay the same. First, we stay calm. We have to take a breath, stay calm, even when it's hard. Students will take those cues from us and their emotions will meet our emotions. So it's important that we have that calmness about us to keep them calm. Second, we think about our protocols and we keep those in our focus. Third, we listen for our directions, and maybe that means watching on GroupMe. We're going to talk more about that, but you are keeping students calm while you wait for directions. We will go through on the next slide all the different ways that you might get directions. And remember also, we're keeping students calm, we're keeping them accounted for, and supervision is always your first responsibility. Okay, so we have communication tools that will help us in any kind of crisis that we may face. So you guys have had a little bit more extensive training, but to go back over, Crisis Go is new for us this year. We've asked that everyone install that app on their phones, and we went through that earlier with how that works and the protocol for that. But Crisis Go will be our new system that we implement this year. It's also connected to those panic buttons. So everyone was given a panic button earlier that'll stay on your badge that you have, easily accessible. We talked earlier about how accidents can't really happen with this because there's a certain sequence that we have to post for this to happen. So we'll have our Crisis Go app on our phone. We'll have our panic buttons on our bodies at all times. That is our expectation. Certain staff members on our CERT team will have walkie-talkies. So we don't have walkie-talkies for everybody in the building, but we have quite a few, and those people will be strategically placed throughout the building in any crisis they know where to go so that every group will have a person with a walkie. If it's appropriate, we will use our PA system, which was upgraded this summer. You guys probably heard earlier. It's nice and loud and much, much better. So we'll be using that when appropriate. And then if we have our cell phones on us, if you don't, and you don't go back in the building, obviously that's never your priority. Hopefully your phone is on your person or easily to grab if you need to evacuate the building. If not, other people will have their phones. So remember, we're a team, so don't panic about that. But some situations that we talk about in a minute, it might be appropriate to use GroupMe, and we'll talk about that in a minute. So we have those communication tools that will help us get through. So the expectations for you guys are that you're fully present here in this meeting so that you can write down things that you don't or not sure about, ask questions at the end so that you can feel confident at the end of this. You should have all gotten these badges to make sure that you have. It has your lockdown, it has your evacuation plan, your lockout, and your shelter in place. So that stays on your badge along with your Crisis Go panic button and your badge with your key entry at all times. So these are things that you need to keep on your person every workday. In your classroom, you will have your go bag that's ready and easily accessible. And in your go bag, you'll have your roster. You'll have a small kit from the nurse's office. You'll have that red and green paper. So remember, if we evacuate and you're missing a student, anyone on your homeroom that's not there that was present that day, we're not talking about kids that are absent. If someone is not with you in that line that is present that day, you're going to turn your card red. If everybody that's in your class that was present that day is currently with you and you can see and touch their body, then you are on green. So that needs to be in your go bag, ready to go at any point and easy for subs to find. Or if you have a paraprofessional, it's in an obvious place. We're not hiding those. And then you'll be listening and watching for directions. That's very important. we're staying calm, we're listening, we're watching, and we are not going to communicate with parents or the community during that time. We're not on our phone talking to parents or community. We're focused completely and solely on kids and safety. We'll get to the parents and the community later. We'll let other people know what's happening once safety is handled and the problems are eliminated. Okay. Okay, so let's go through a few different crisis type situations and talk about what to do. Number one, if there's a fire, it's pretty obvious. If you smell smoke, you suspect a fire, you're going to pull the alarm, and that's going to initiate an evacuation of the building. We'll practice these drills every month. Some will be on your calendar, some will not, because in a real fire, we won't get a heads up, right? So we need to be prepared to do that even without any notice, okay? If we're able, and we should be able to because our phones go to our PA system all over the building, and admin will come on if able and say, this is not a drill, so that you will know. Please treat every drill just like it's a real fire, but if we're able to do that and make sure that everyone understands, then we absolutely will still do that. All your CERT team will be following you out the building with their walkie-talkies, and that's one way of communication. And if there's a real fire and we have some things going down, you'll probably also be wanting to look for GroupMe. But like I said, those people with walkie-talkies will be out there. Should there be a real fire, of course, everyone from the district will be over here. Our SRO, our other officers, the fire department is just right across the street. They'll be here as fast as they possibly can. And if needed, beyond that, law enforcement, ambulances, things like that. So the next two we'll talk about will be for intruder and shooter on campus. So in the beginning, these look really the same. For both of them, we would go into a lockdown. So if you see someone in the building that is not a staff member, you need to see if they have the yellow visitor badge on them. Still introduce yourself. We want to make sure that people are in the building. If they're in the building, that they should be in the building. So even if they have the yellow sticker, feel free, make eye contact, talk to them. If they don't have a yellow sticker, we want you to stop them and say, hi, I'm Mrs. Tatman. How can I help you? Who are you looking for? What are you doing? And we want to redirect them back to the office. I know that can be awkward, but we need to walk them to the office and make sure they get the proper badge. That's happened to me before, and it was a student teacher, but she was from a college. I didn't recognize her. I hadn't met her. She didn't have any ID on. And I said, hey, we're just going to walk back to the office and get an ID because people are just going to keep stopping you. You know, you got to have some kind of an ID. And she was super nice about it. Felt a little awkward, but safety is first over anything else. So if someone doesn't have that, we need to get that. If you see an intruder and you can tell, or you have any feeling at all, it's always better safe than sorry. So if someone should not be in the building, they don't have the tag, if you've tried to talk to them or if you don't feel comfortable talking to them, we have a problem, and we have 600 kids to protect. So on the phones that you have all throughout the building, you have an infinity button. So you push infinity 70, and that's not going just to our campus. We have 2 campuses that are within walking distance right here, our intermediates. So we want to make sure that they're also alerted. So that infinity 70 is going to also come on in those 2 buildings. And we're going to say lockdown, lockdown, lockdown. And when you know what room they're in, you're going to add that too. So if you saw this intruder in the main hallway, you would say lockdown, lockdown, east, main hallway. And that lets our SROs and everyone else know where you saw that person to pinpoint. And that lockdown is going to trigger all students to be in the classroom with their teachers, lights off, out of sight. And we practice that with them several times a year. And teachers, before that ever happens, in those first few days of school, you've got to have those conversations with your kids. When I say lockdown and when I tell you to get here, there is no talking. This is the protocol. We are quiet. This is why we do it. Conversations before that to explain that to kids and tell them to stay calm, but you're firm so they understand, are very important. Conversations after are very important. If someone was loud or not following that procedure, admin needs to know so they can also follow up with conversations for that student and help the student understand the safety protocol. So a lot of this is about preparing our kids before and after without scaring them, which is a very tricky balance, but it can be done. And if you need help with that, your admin, your counselors are always happy to do that. I want to tell you about the memorandum of understanding that we have. And that means that even though we have our own police department here in Hallsville with our chief and all of our SROs, they have a memorandum of understanding with Longview Police Department, Hallsville Police Department, Marshall Police Department. And that means that whenever something happens and goes down, they're all coming. They're all coming. They're all going to help us. We all work together. Okay. Okay, so a shooter on campus works much like the intruder on campus, but to definitely a different degree. So originally, if there is a shooter on campus, we are still going to call a lockdown, 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 and say the place. In addition to that, on your crisis go button, 6, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, if you push that 6 times in the succession that we talked about earlier, that is going to immediately go to our SRO, our superintendent. That's going to send the floodgates in immediately, which is exactly what we want. You are going into a lockdown in classrooms originally, but there is a scenario where we start to evacuate, and that would be led only by our SROs and only by GroupMe. Don't ever answer your doors during a lockdown, no matter who jiggles the door, who's banging on the door. You do not answer. That will be communicated through our apps. Okay. So, as hard as that would be, we stay calm, we stay quiet, we stay hidden, and we wait for directions. So, very much the same as before, we're having conversations not directly about shooters, but about intruders or bad guys with our students ahead of time. We're understanding during lockdowns, the teacher's voice is quiet and she's the only one talking. So that's how we work with our kiddos before. And after we have drills like this, the conversations after are really important. And again, we have that memorandum of understanding, which means we're going to have lots of help from our community come in. And that's a worst case scenario. And hopefully that will not happen, but we will know what to do. Okay, in case of bad weather, such as tornado, please know that we are watching the weather on days like that. And every day, really, we have designated upper admin that helps us out with that as we kind of get in the weeds of the campus. But should we need to shelter in place, if our city sirens go off, or if we think we're just getting close enough that it's time, we're going to err on the side of caution, and we're going to do a shelter in place over the announcement system and probably also over GroupMe. Then at that point, we'll do the drill that we've already practiced, right? Because we'll practice that before. All students will come to that K1 main hallway, and we will get in the crouching position. Students that are in C Hall can stay in C Hall between not where the one hall with the door is, the exterior door, but in that other part right there. And if you're on C Hall, we'll come down and show you that. But all other students will come down to the kinder and first grade hall and get in that crouching position, and we'll stay in that position until we are told that it's safe. Should there actually be a tornado or a disaster, you will follow directions. We have reunification shelters in place in town. We have protocols that we don't share with just everyone for all of these situations. And that's why it'll be important for our staff to listen carefully, because those directions will come to you at that time. Again, you need to have your go bag with you, and we are not communicating with parents and community during that time. We are taking care of students first. Okay, we got to experience this last year. If you were on campus on the very first Monday of school, we had a loss of electricity and it was hot outside and the building got hot. I think we were out of electricity for about 3 hours that day. So our emergency lights come on, so the building is never completely dark. You know, we have windows in classrooms and the halls have the emergency lights. The bathrooms are pretty dark. Every go bag has one flashlight in it, so that helps to a degree, but really this isn't an emergency at this point. It can be if it gets hotter and hotter. We have to make a phone call and make sure that happens. But a general loss of electricity is something that just happens from time to time, and it's not fun when you've got all these kids with you. Again, staying calm, having a calm presence is important, because some kids do start to feed off of that. We will update on GroupMe and admin stations around the building. Just like if you were here last year, you saw we came out to different parks. We used our walkies. Our superintendent was over here pretty quick, because we were the only campus without electricity at that point, and it was close to lunchtime. So we had to make a plan for the cafeteria, and we borrowed from the 2 neighboring schools, and we're able to still have lunch that day for our kiddos with sandwiches, and we just brought things over from the other campus and we made work. And then, magically the electricity came back on right before we were serving. But thank goodness we were able to work together in the district. Really, in every situation, your job is to follow the protocol that's on your badge that I showed you. And then it is to stay calm. Okay, so we've gone over a few scenarios. I'm sure that some people still have some questions, and that's a good thing. I want you thinking about it. I want you to kind of imagine some different scenarios, and I want to open up the room for questions now, and let's talk about it. Let's also remember that this should be an ongoing conversation throughout the year. When you think of different things, we want you to stop by. We know all the crisis go and the panic buttons are new, and it would be very natural to have questions about that. So, as you think of questions, if you don't think of them right now, please stop by, email, because you might think of something that we haven't thought of either, and we can all learn and grow in that process together. And I want to bring us back to what I said at the beginning of the slide. Safety is everyone's responsibility. So an admin team cannot alone ensure safety of 600 kids. We need the entire staff working together, and we need kids complying and working together. And kids will do that if they have clear directions, okay? And we know that you guys will do that if you know what to do. We're all on the same team. So right now, if you can take a few minutes, jot down your questions. We're going to take a short break, and then we're going to come back, and all together we're going to do a Q&A session for about 20 minutes. And then if needed, we'll go a little bit longer, or you guys can email, and we have a note taker who's going to take notes and put them in a Dropbox for everyone so that we can all have those answers to refer back to as well. Thank you for coming, and thank you for listening, and we'll come back together in just a few minutes.